The Washington Wizards just changed how the rest of the NBA season is going to go. And let me explain to you why I am saying this. Today we learned that Giannis Antetokounmpo is open to being traded to a different team. There's a chance that Giannis Antetokounmpo is no longer a Milwaukee Buck. And we knew this was kind of happening during the offseason as well because there were rumors going around of him potentially being traded to the New York Knicks. Well, these rumors are starting again, and they're not rumors. It is true. Him and his agent have told the Milwaukee Bucks that they're opening, up their, kind of movement to go to a different team. They're open to trade talks. They're open to trying to figure out, okay, is the best situation for Giannis to stay in Milwaukee, or is it to go to a different team that's trying to contend for a championship for the next few seasons? And, well, it's kind of leaning like it isn't going to be in Milwaukee, as the Washington Wizards just beat the Milwaukee Bucks at home without their best player in Alex Sarr, and the Bucks were healthy. They had a fully healthy team going into this one. All their best players were playing. The Washington Wizards, though, they didn't have Alex Sarr, who's arguably an all-star this season. So looking at that, and after beating them, especially Bilal Coulibaly, locking him down at the end of the game to get that breakaway slam to kind of finish out that victory, I took that as a sign of the door closing of the Milwaukee and Giannis era coming to a close. They won that championship in 2021. That's all they were able really to ever do. And now it's come to an abrupt end because they lost to, putting it bluntly, one of the worst teams we have seen in the NBA in a very long time. So to whoever ends up getting Giannis, you can thank the Washington Wizards for that. But there is a slight chance that Giannis could end up in Washington. Do I think it's happening? It's very, very, very small chance it could happen, but I don't think the possibility is zero. You never know what's going to happen until you make that call over to their front office and be like, hey, what's it going to take to get the big guy over here in the DMV? So that's what I'm going to break down in the video today, is kind of breaking down what all happened for Giannis to request this trade, and then is there a chance that he's going to end up in Washington? We're going to break all that down here today on Wizards Digest. If you don't know who I am, Bryson Akins. I used to host Thunder Digest, one of the most followed Thunder accounts on YouTube. So go check that out as well. Go check out my guys who are running that channel now. I'm a credential media member with the Washington Wizards. I write for Wizards on SI, so I'm here to bring you guys some inside access, my opinions, my takes on what's going on with the team and what's going to go on going forward, along with some inside information, like I said, about some rumors and trade stuff that could potentially happen with this team. Without further ado, let's go ahead, get into talking about it a little bit here, and let's take a look. Like I said, it was reported by Shams today that Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent, Alex Saratzis, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's, I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but have started conversations with the Milwaukee Bucks about the two-time NBA MVP's future and discussing whether his best fit is staying or elsewhere. Sources tell ESPN a resolution is expected in the coming weeks. And the reason I think it's in the coming weeks is when they expect a resolution is because Thanasis can't be traded until December 15th. So, of course, then, it's going to be like next 3 to 4 weeks. Probably won't be traded. It might take, a full month and a half as well until that January 15th timeframe when some other players can be traded, especially with the Knicks, as they're a heavy favorite to land the former MVP, one of the best players in the basketball in the NBA, one of the best players, of all time as well, when you look at how dominant he has been the past few seasons, really his entire career. So they're the favorites to land him right now. So it's just kind of weird, all right? And like I said, this is the reason that Giannis is no longer going to be a Milwaukee Buck, whether that's after this season or, traded in a few weeks, all right? They, like Greg Finberg said, the 2025 Wizards are altering the course of the NBA is not what I expected, but here we are. They had a close game and then, open up the season against Milwaukee as well. In Milwaukee, that kind of was like, a little bit shaky. Is Milwaukee not going to be as good as we thought? And now, after this game, they fell to 9-13. And this was the end of the Giannis era. Giannis did get injured today, so let's keep that in mind when we talk about anything going on with him. But it is kind of interesting when you look at all this stuff. And let's go ahead and take a look at an article by ESPN that Shams did write about this whole situation. Giannis has never asked to be traded ever. I can't make that more clear, Rivers said, which is really interesting because he actually said that he requested a trade. We're trying to win games. Listen, we've lost. The reason this is out is because we're not playing well. We're not playing well. We had a tough loss the other night, and so now this is the subject matter. It's no more true than it was this summer over the offseason. Antetokounmpo explored external options and was open to playing for one team outside of Milwaukee, the New York Knicks. as a potential trade home. Sources described it as an exclusive negotiating window for the Knicks over a multi-week period in August, but that will not be the case moving forward. Multiple other teams would be expected to emerge as suitors for the 9-time All-Star if trades are explored. And there's a bunch of teams that could go after him and try to land Giannis. But like I said, he's saying that he didn't really, request that trade. But right here, Brian Windhorst on ESPN Radio today, on who will call Milwaukee for Giannis, if it'll be Giannis instructing the Bucks where he wants to be traded, and the Bucks trying to make the best possible deal with that team. You can put whatever verbiage in the summer. He basically said, I want to be a Knick. And over the summer, he did request a trade. He did. Rivers said he never requested a trade. This was never a thing that was happening. But he did request a trade over the summer. He did. And he requested a trade today. So it's not it's a fake thing. No one's, this isn't actually real. He never requested a trade. He's going to be a Buck for as long as possible. No. It's public knowledge that he did. He's trying to say, it's like he's living in a fairy tale land where whatever he believes is true. But the truth of the matter is, Giannis wants out. He does. He wants out because he thinks he might be better suited to a different team. And whatever team that's going to go out there and trade for him, they're going to want a nice package as well. A lot of draft picks. All right. Something else that I also thought is something, bring up in this video as well. Troy Halliburton. He brought up this was the reason that Giannis was leaving. The Wizards really might be the reason Giannis starts his exit strategy from the Bucks, because he knows if they can't beat the worst team in the league without their best player, that they have no shot of competing this season. I think that's the big thing that kind of shows hey, this is why Giannis wants out. They lost to the worst team in the NBA right now without their best player, and we are healthy. We should have won that game even if we we're missing a player or two, if we really want to be contenders. And he notices they're not contenders. They aren't right now. So he wants out. This is where things get a little bit interesting, though, when I think about it, is what are the odds that he could end up in Washington, though? What are the odds? Well, the trade package I put together, which is probably the best one that I can come up with, and I really don't want to do it. Part of it is because there are two guys, and the amount of draft picks, I don't feel comfortable giving them up yet, but this is what happens, and don't mind the X by the Bucks. That just is because of Thanasis. He can't be traded right now. He can only be traded after December 15th, so you have to wait till then. But it does work out everywhere else, all right? The Bucks, they would have to take in C.J. McCollum, Corey Kispert, Bub Carrington, 2026 first-round pick from OKC, Houston, or the Clippers this year. It's whichever one's the worst one of those, so it's going to be OKC at 30th overall. 2026 second-rounder from us, 2026 second-rounder from Phoenix, 2027 second-rounder from Chicago, 2028 first-rounder from Philly, Brooklyn, or Phoenix, 2029 first-rounder from us, and 2030 first-rounder from Phoenix. Swap rights right there, so they get the rights to swap with Phoenix for that pick. We'd bring in, Giannis and Thanasis, because if Giannis goes, Thanasis also has to go. All right, he's going to bring his brother with him wherever he ends up playing. It works out financially. It does. It sheds a little bit of money for the Bucks. We bring on a little bit more money, but we can afford taking on this kind of money. It's just a matter of waiting for Thanasis to actually be trade eligible. However, like I said, I'm not comfortable giving up so many picks, and B, specifically Kispert and Bub Carrington as well, even though he has been struggling. A lot of people don't realize he's shooting over 40% from three. I think it's just a matter of he needs to start taking the three-point shot a little bit more instead of trying to drive in and shoot the mid-range. And Corey Kispert, I really believe in him. From what I've heard from the coaching staff when I've been at the games and the front office as well, they want him to be a long-term, player on this team for the next few seasons. They see him as a veteran leader and a guy that they can rely on as like an eighth, or seventh man on this roster. So those are two guys I don't really want to give up. I get it's Giannis, but in the grand scheme of things, does it change a lot? And I don't even know if this pick really gets anything, if the picks get anything done either. I'm sure there are going to be other better options that teams can offer. The Thunder can offer better picks. The Knicks can probably offer a better package, but we can still put this on the table and try to compete and be like, hey, what can we, any way we can potentially make this work out? Is there, throw on two more picks? Maybe you want a different player instead of Bub Carrington. Trying to figure out a little bit what's it going to take to get this deal done, because you do want to get in these sweepstakes if Giannis is available, and he is available. It's going to be really hard to compete with some other teams out there. So it might be better to turn, the focus on the guys like Zion or someone else, to fill this power forward role. That is, a little bit of a cheaper option. It's not going to cost as much to trade some guys over, to get him, in Washington. But Giannis is available. Might as well go after him because, at the end of the day, the Wizards are the reason the Giannis era is coming to a close and the NBA is about to change for good this season. That's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys personally want to do with Giannis. Do you want to try to trade for him? Or you're like, look, it's not even going to happen. Let's put all of our focus and attention into a different player to trade for. That's all I got. See you guys in the next one.